Hello John, today we're going to talk about Pope Francis, his visit to Ireland. He was here for 36 hours and it was reported by more than 1,200 journalists from over 30 countries. But before we start talking about Pope Francis, you have a lovely bell there that I haven't seen before.
That was a bell that when I visited the Holy Land in 2014, I brought it back here. But before that, my wife Julie, when she wanted to call me in, if I was out in the garden and brought her up, she'd blow a whistle. And then she was ringing this bell as well, so it had two phones.
You must have been a hard man to find.
Well, I was out, we'd say, and I wouldn't hear it because I'm sort of an individual that concentrates on something and then I don't hear anything, so she'd give that a good ratty. I'd have to hasten in because the dinner was about to be served, because we always had our dinner in the middle of the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, Pope Francis was here and 1,200 journalists from over 30 countries covered it, which is quite a lot. It's probably twice as many journalists as the US president, when they cover his visit. So do you want to discuss it? Do you want to discuss the Pope's visit? Yes.
Certainly, yes. Well, it was a great honour. It was a great honour for the Pope to come to this country for this event of the families, to do with families.
And a great honour for the country as well.
A great honour for the country, and certainly a great honour for the country. And and when he came, he got a good welcome going down O'Connell Street in the Moorcade. There was lots of people there cheering. So he got a great welcome there. And also in the country where I live, a lot of homes that I come across had bunting out and the papal flag. And churches also had flags out and celebrating the fact that the Pope was here. And kind of remembering when Pope John Paul II was here in 1979. Mm-hmm. Now, but on this time, we have a hostile media and a hostile press, and particularly the state broadcaster, but every big media outlet in the country, and also the papers, seem to spend their time, instead of welcoming the Pope and showing respect, spent their time talking about abuse and this, that and the other, anything to do with a welcome for His Holiness Pope Francis. So they were setting the tone, encouraging objections and interviewing people on programmes prior to the Pope's visit, and inviting them the views of people that didn't want the Pope, as if like they represented some kind of a significant number of people, when in actual fact they represented a tiny minority, but a very vocal anti-Catholic minority whose views should not be, considering the Pope was coming, their views should be discounted.
I was surprised that prime time they had a programme and they brought on Nope to the Pope, the people behind that Facebook page. These are the people that actually said they were going to hijack the ticketing system for the Phoenix Park and make sure the tickets didn't go into the rightful hands of those who needed them. So I was very surprised that RTE, they would have known that these people were up to that kind of carry on.
Well, they set the agenda, I'm afraid, and that seems to be their policy. They have an anti-Catholic agenda there for not just this period, but all the time. But that was an absolute disgraceful programme, so much so that I had to stop looking at it. Well, I was looking at it to see what they had to say because they were talking about the Pope's visit. But instead of that, they had all these spokespeople on and giving them plenty of airtime to denigrate the Pope's visit and to constantly be talking about abuse. As if there was nothing else in the Catholic faith which is the truth, other than what we're talking about. And they had chairman of Amnesty International, Colin O'Gorman, on and given them a platform to sort of abuse the Bishop of Derry, Bishop McKeown that was there, and give him a lecture about abuse from on high and all the rest of it. And without being cross-questioned, and the presenter, Miriam O'Callaghan, was sitting there as if she wasn't presenting the programme at all, and allowed this individual to question the bishop. And the bishop didn't deal robustly with the questions from this man. who has received a lot of money from the Catholic Church, and even though he had been abused by 3 other people, lay people, before he ever became involved with a priest in that diocese of Ferns. So he's got a lot of mileage out of with his abuse from the Catholic Church, when he was in fact abused before he ever come near the Catholic Church.
Brenda,
I put it down, by the way, to the fact that he wasn't brought up in a real Catholic environment, because if he was, he wouldn't went down the road that he's gone down.
Brenda Power, I think she writes for the Irish Times or the Sunday Times. She mentioned that Colin McGorman and his gang, it's kind of a mobster kind of thing. It's in other words, they've lost the respect of the ordinary man on the street.
Well, I think so, because like you can, it's been overstated, the constant attacks by this group and on the Catholic faith. They've got away with 2 referendums. They've got the same-sex marriage referendum passed, called marriage equality. They have that, and now O'Gorman is chairman of, or director of the Amnesty International, which is supposed to be for the protection of human life, saw fit to support abortion, and so therefore he doesn't support human life, and his organisation doesn't, which was a disgrace. And so people have lost respect for that organisation, and lost respect for people that are continuously promoting negativity and being allowed to by the media. This O'Gorman individual has been a senator promoted by Fianna Fáil under Bertie Ahern.
I don't think he's actually been a senator. I think they promoted him, but somehow it didn't happen. I'm not sure about that.
Oh no, he did.
Was he a senator?
He was a senator, of course he was, for the PDs. But he was appointed a senator by Bertie Ahern and Fianna Fáil. So all this support, he also had programmes on the BBC, so he's had a willing media support for his anti-Catholic views about being abused, when he was actually abused by 3 other people before he ever come involved in the Catholic Church, and received a lot of money from the Catholic Church. But no matter how much money he receives, he'll never be happy, that man, and people of his ilk. Because they're not promoting any joy or happiness in life. The only joy and happiness they ever get in life is by the practice of the Catholic faith. And I suggest him and the other anti-Catholic bigots, if they were ever baptised and made their first Holy Communion confirmation, well then, if they did, they'd want to sort of go to confession and confess their sins and try to live a chaste life. That's the solution for the like of those people, not to be allowed a vehicle by the media and the elite that run that organisations to promote such views as they have.
There was 500 tickets available for...
500,000.
Sorry, 500,000 tickets available for the Phoenix Park.
Yes.
For the Pope in the Phoenix Park. All tickets were distributed, but only 130,000 people turned up. Why do you think that is?
Well, then that shouldn't be, because people, legitimate Catholics that would require tickets, would obviously attend the event, unless health prevented them from doing so. But certainly the amount of people that turned up and the amount of tickets distributed, it doesn't connect with the number that attended and the number of tickets, the 500,000 tickets given out. Now, quite frankly, that's there should be an inquiry into what happened there, because this anti-Catholic people claimed that they had bought up a lot of tickets with a view to interrupting the Pope's visit, which and the media allowed them to do such a thing.
You're talking about saying no to the Pope.
Well, those ones that were anti-Catholic bigots, that we heard them on the prime time, and indeed during the course of the Pope's visit, the RTE News kept talking about abuse, and all the thousands of people that were there, they managed to focus on spokespeople for the abuse section, which had already got far too much publicity, and including Dominican Taoiseach, Varriger. He was at the same racket, instead of welcoming the Pope, talking about abuse all the time. I mean, those people, there's a remedy for them, and I presume they've got the remedy, but they don't seem to be happy with the remedy that they've got and the compensation they've got. They're still at it. It's about time that they quit and weren't allowed a platform, because Catholics want their views to be respected and not to be trampled on by the like of those people.
The LGBT community were putting up some quite alarming posts on Facebook also. They were saying that 32 million was spent on security alone, which is ridiculous.
Well, you see, nothing will please those people, but for to be allowed a platform is disgraceful. And the Pope had the right to get a proper welcome to the country. What's the point of having an organisation called Fáilte Ireland and 100,000 welcomes and all this nonsense and not welcoming the leader of the Catholic faith? Can you imagine the leader of the Muslim faith being treated in such a manner? It wouldn't happen. Why should it happen to the Pope or to any visitor of that calibre from abroad? I mean, they're abusing the Catholic faith morning, noon and night in this dreadful media that we have, both TV, radio and print. And it's about time they were called into question. I mean, what's wrong with Catholics that are not standing up for it? What's wrong with the bishops that are not speaking out against it?
The tickets became so scarce that there was people on Done Deal selling them.
Yeah, but why were they selling them and who were they? And why was Done Deal even involved in such a business? It's because the tickets were free, they didn't have to be sold.
The Done Deal's policy is that it doesn't allow, it was actually monitoring it quite carefully, and they were pulling down the tickets for sale. They weren't allowing it to happen.
Right.
But nevertheless it was happening anyway, okay? They'd done their best apparently. But that will tell you there was a scarcity of tickets.
Well, you see, who had all these tickets?
Who had them exactly?
If the case that this anti-Catholic, homosexual and lesbian community calling themselves LGBT, whatever it is, and all these other bigots that's anti-Catholic, because that's what they are. They would cheat to refer to the Catholic faith in such derogatory manners, and it's them that's actually suffering from it. Now, if they, they did claim that they had got a lot of tickets, thousands. Now, from the sound of this, it might have been far too many. There should be an inquiry into it as to know what happened to tickets, who got them and where. Surely to goodness, with all the internet solutions that's available in modern times, surely to goodness whoever's responsible for inviting the Pope here, especially the Archbishop of Dublin, surely it's within his competence and the Catholic people to inquire into this and to know where all these tickets went. And don't be just abdicating their responsibility. It is their responsibility and the responsibility of this government to have an inquiry. They're having inquiries into the events that happened 100 years ago in children's homes and making out that it was neglect, when fact the state neglected children and neglected the people in the country with the emigration we had. So they shouldn't be spending their time at this business. Examine the problems that they have today, the antisocial behaviour, the murders far in excess of any other jurisdiction in Europe, and the annihilation of poor individuals in the various parts of the country, the business of children in care, 6,000 of them, 50,000 visited. Enough is enough.
Say goodbye to me with that bell.
I think you nearly overstated your time. I have to keep this bell close by. And now, what time
That's
is
the
it?
timekeeper.
It's not the Angelus.
Okay, right. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, Oliver.